Good evening to all of you. Today we are going to discuss about the chapter 7, that's about structural organization in animals. We are not going to discuss about in detail, we are just revising it. Whatever the contents that we create for your exam, we are just revising it. So while learning, take a notebooks. Already you have these notes. So take the notebook and listen to that audio. Along with that one, you have to read the concepts. Then you can able to cover the concepts easily. Okay. So first of all, about the types and origin. So structural organization. So as we know, the cells are the basic unit of the life, and when cells combine together, it leads to the formation of the tissues. So mainly four types of tissues we are going to discuss in this chapter. That is epithelial tissues are there, connective tissues are there, muscular and nervous tissue. So these are the four major tissues that present inside our body on any of the organisms. So this epithelial tissue that develop from three regions, ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm, and connective tissue that develop from the mesoderm. Connective tissue as well as the muscular tissue that develop from the mesodermal origin. And nervous tissue that helps to send the impulses that develop from the ectodermal region. That's the next feature. Now, the word was given by French anatomist and physiologist, that is Bichat. He gives his name. Okay. So he gave this name. Okay. Tissue. Okay, so the word tissue was given by the French anatomist, that is Bichat. That is in he is lived in 1771 to 1802. That's about the concept. Now the term tissue was already coined by Engrue. So the term tissue that's coined by Engrue, and in 1682, okay, with the plant anatomy. So these two points are not that much important. So the first point we can learn, there is a tissue coined by Bichat for a theory paper, and the next one for your NEET is NEET, that's enough. An Italian scientist, that is Marcello Malpighi, and he founded a separate branch for the study of tissues that is called histology. So the branch of science that deals with the study of tissues of the bones or the organs, that is called histology. Okay, so you just remember that single term for a board exam. There is Marcello Malpighi. He proposed or he founded a new branch of science for the study of the tissues that is called histology. Now coming to the first type of tissue, that is epithelial tissue. So the word epithelium was introduced by Reich. So the word epithelium was introduced by the Reich, and the cells of epithelium was very close to each other and separated by thin filaments of extracellular material. That means epithelial cells are close to each other and separated by extracellular material. These 4 points are only there. So cells of epithelium was closely associated with each other, and also they are separated by a thin films of extracellular material. Now the neighboring cells are connected by using cell junctions. So the adjacent cells are connected by using the structure that is called cell junctions. Now this epithelial tissues rest on a non-cellular basement membrane. So basement membrane means there is a basal region, isn't it? That means on the basement membrane, this epithelial tissues are present, and it is a non-cellular in nature. It means the cells are not divided properly in this epithelial tissue or in this basement region. That's about the feature. Now, epithelial tissues arises from three germ layers. There are some three germ layers, that is first ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. So other than the points, whatever we discussed in that also will be there in this notes. So you have to focus on the notes. Okay, whatever we discuss in the classroom, that you have to focus, and the many points you can prepare for the NEET. Now this basement membrane is there that we discussed on the basement membrane. Epithelial tissues are there. So basement membrane we can classify into two types. That's upper layer is there, and that is called base lamina, and the lower layer, that is a reticular lamina. So two types of layers are there. There is a upper layer that is called base lamina, or based, it's a basal lamina called the basal lamina. Basal lamina and made up of glycoproteins and mucopolysaccharides secreted by the epithelial cells. So this upper layer made up of glycoproteins are there and mucopolysaccharides, and is produced by the epithelial cells, and they are mostly thin in nature. They are the most thin cells or thin layers. Now coming to the next one, reticular lamina. It is a lower layer. It is a thick layer. It is a lower layer. Outside it was a thick layer, and it's a fibrous layer having a lot of fibers are there. So two types of fibers, reticular fibers are there, and also collagen fibers are there. So these are the different types of fibers that present inside the reticular lamina. Now about the epithelial tissue. So inside this epithelial tissue, the blood vessels are absent. So blood vessels are absent inside the epithelial tissue, and the transfer of the compounds between the epithelial cells and the connective tissue by diffusion across the membrane. So connective tissue, for example, blood. Okay, so this materials or the compounds that present inside the epithelial cells that can be transferred to the basal membrane through the diffusion, or the connective tissue through the diffusion, isn't it? So first of all, from the cells, it passes undergo diffusion and reaches basal membrane. From the basal membrane, again it goes to the connective tissues. Now the epithelial cells are held together by intercellular material. Intercellular means the material that present in between the cells. That's called intercellular material. Now, specialized junctions are there that provide structural and functional, act as the structural and functional unit. So, some special type of junctions are there that act as the um, functional and the structural links. So, that point again we can discuss. I think is there. Types of cell junctions. It's already here. So, three types of junctions are there: tight junctions, adhering junctions, and gap junctions. Diagrams are already shared to your notes. So, just observe that diagram. Already it's there in your notebook, isn't it? So tight junctions that help to stop substances from leaking across the tissues. So first of all, tight junction, cells are closely packed. It prevents the leakage of substances. Suppose if it is adhering junction, then keeps the adjacent cells together, and it allows the minimum movement of the molecules. Okay, because it's adhering, moderately packed. If it is gap junction, it communicates with each other by connecting the cytoplasm of the adjacent cells. Means it allows the complete passage of the molecules because it is loosely packed in nature, so that it allows the movement of the molecules freely in the gap junction. So one diagram is there in your notebook. We have to check that diagram once again. Now about the epithelial tissues types. Three types are there: simple epithelium, compound epithelium, glandular epithelium. And the simple epithelium means having one cell and compound epithelium made up of different types of cells, and glandular epithelium made up of several glands. Now, simple epithelium classified into mainly five categories: ciliated, pseudostratified, squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. Ciliated again classified into two types: columnar and cuboidal. Pseudostratified again classified into columnar and ciliated. Pseudostratified means having some false layers. Is it having a column-like shape? That is columnar. If it is ciliated, means cilia is present. Now squamous is there. Squamous means flattened, cuboidal, and columnar. So cuboidal means cube-like, and columnar, that is column-like. Now the compound epithelium again became classified into stratified and transitional. Stratified means having several layers. So in stratified, squamous, cuboidal, columnar, and columnar ciliated. So squamous, that is keratinized and non-keratinized. So keratinized means keratin is present inside the first one. In non-keratin, that is keratin is absent. Now the types of cell junctions we discussed. That flowchart you have to learn for your exam. Now cell junctions are more frequent in ciliated epithelium. Let's leave that point. Okay, how do we discuss? So epithelial tissues can be classified into two types, that is simple epithelium and compound epithelium. Simple epithelium, that is formed of single layer of cells. It is simple epithelium having a single layer of cells, and the adjacent cells are held together by the means of desmosome. So the adjacent cells that held together by a compound called, or the compound that is called desmosome. That desmosome resting on the basement membrane, or is present on the upper sides of the basement membrane. Now about this epithelium, about this simple epithelium, it mainly present on the secretory and absorptive surfaces. So mainly present on the secretory and absorptive surfaces. Its major function nutrition, excretion, secretion, but it doesn't have any role in protecting the underlying tissues. Not for protecting the underlying tissues. That is about the simple epithelium. So simple epithelium, several types are there. So inside the simple epithelium, it consists of thin, flat, scale-like cells. Scale-like cells with prominent nucleus. So once again, simple epithelium, it consists of layer of thin, flat, scale-like cells with the prominent nucleus. And inside the simple squamous epithelium, they have irregular boundaries that fit closely to the neighboring cell. So cells fit closely towards the neighboring cells, and it forms the inner lining of alveoli and also the blood vessels. That's the next feature. So this squamous epithelium, also known as pavement membrane, and the tessellated epithelium, isn't it? So simple squamous epithelium, also known as the pavement membrane and the tessellated epithelium. That's the concept. Now the simple second type, that is simple cuboidal epithelium. So simple cuboidal cells are polygonal in shape. Its outline is polygonal, but appears as cuboidal in vertical section. So its vertical section, it appears as the cuboidal neck structure. So it present on the salivary glands, pancreatic ducts, thyroid vesicles. So remember, while learning this epithelial cells, the first major question that you can expect for your board exam, that is where it is present, or identify the location or the regions in which these epithelial cells are present. So it mostly present in these areas, that is salivary glands, pancreatic ducts, and thyroid vesicles. Now functions, secretion is there, excretion and absorption. So these are the functions of this cuboidal epithelium. Now the absorptive surfaces having some microvillus. So microvillus means that is the finger-like projections on the surface of the body. That's called, or intestine, that's a microvillus. That's major function that helps in the absorption of the nutrients that obtained from the food. So microvillus gives a brush-like appearance to the border. So brush-like, it looks like somewhat brush-like in appearance. Hence, we can call it as brush-bordered epithelium. Brush-bordered cubical epithelial cells. A little bit, which is not clear. Okay, fine. So now this brush-bordered epithelium that present in the proximal tubules of kidneys, mostly present on the proximal tubules of the kidney. Now microvillus is the microvillus that increases the surface area. It helps to increase the surface area and enhance the absorption rate, or it increases the absorption rate. So that is about the brush-bordered epithelium. Now simple columnar epithelium. So simple, having one layer of cells, and columnar, column-like cells. So here, tall, polygonal, column-like cells. They are tall cells, polygonal cells, or column-like cells. And nucleus is located at the base of the cell. So nucleus is there. Each and every cell is having nucleus. So here the nucleus is located at the base of the cell. Now it covers the inner surface of intestine. It present on the inner surface of intestine, stomach, and also gallbladder. So inner surface of the organs, it is present. Also occurs in the gastric glands and intestinal glands. So gastric gland means the glands that present inside the stomach, and intestinal glands, the glands that present inside the intestine. Now its function is also secretion or absorption. That's a major function of this one. Now intestinal mucosa. Intestinal mucosa means the waxy coating or the waxy covering on the surface of intestine. So intestinal mucosa also lined by brush-bordered columnar epithelium. So intestinal mucosa having some brush-bordered columnar epithelium. So it is highly absorptive. Okay, it helps in the absorption process. That's a feature. Now simple ciliate epithelium. So it consists of columnar or cubical cells. It contains a columnar or the cubical cells and having cilia on its face surface. So it consists of columnar cells or the cubical cells and bearing cilia on the free surface. Now simple ciliate epithelium that helps to move particles. The cilia that helps to move particles, free cells or mucus in a specific direction over the epithelial surface. So simply we can say that cilia that helps to move the particles, and or mucus. Mucus means the waxy coating in the specific direction. That's enough. Okay, it helps in movement. That's also enough. Now about the locations. So it is the inner surface of the hollow organs at present, like fallopian tube, bronchioles, and small bronchi. Okay, so in these regions, this simple ciliate epithelium present. So that's about the function or the location at which present. Now coming to the next one, it lines the ventricles of brain. Also, it present on the ventricles of brain, and spinal canal is also there. That is ependymar is also present. So these are the so it present on the ventricles of brain, spinal cord, and the ependymar. Okay, so these are the regions. Now ciliated columnar epithelium. The first time. So it is ciliated, cilia present, columnar, column-like cells. So diagrams also we already shared and already you have the diagrams. So you have to check the diagrams also. You have given that diagram for your exam. So ciliated columnar epithelium that comprises of columnar cells or the column-like cells having cilia on its face surface. So cilia is also present. Now it lines most of the respiratory tract, present on the respiratory tract and also fallopian tube on the orbitals, also the ventricles of brain, central canal of the spinal cord, in the tympanic cavity of the middle ear, and also auditory tube or the eustachian tube. So in these regions, the ciliated epithelium is present. Now ciliated cuboidal epithelium, it consists of cubical cells and having cilia on its base surface. It occurs in the certain parts of nephrons of the kidney, present on the nephrons on the kidney regions. Now pseudostratified epithelium, it covers the inner linings of the trachea and large bronchus. So this pseudostratified means it looks like several layers, but it actually having a single layer only. So it is made up of single layer of columnar cells, but it appears as two layered because some cells are shorter and having nucleus at different level. So some cells are there, they have a nucleus. Okay, some small cells are there. So for the small cells, the nucleus will be looks a little bit downside, and for the larger cells, it will be in the upside. That is the region. So the shorter cells lacks cilia. Shorter cells doesn't have the cilia. They secrete mucus. It helps to trap particles on the epithelial surface. So shorter cells and longer cells are there. Shorter cells in which cilia is absent, that is secrete mucus that traps the particles on the epithelial surface. Now the next one, the longer cells are ciliated. The ciliary movement propels the mucus and the particles towards the larynx. So ciliary movement, the cilia that present inside the larynx region that helps to move the particles towards the larynx region. Now pseudostratified, non-ciliated columnar epithelium tissue that is found in pseudostratified, non-ciliated means cilia is absent. That kind of columnar epithelium that found in urethra of male and the parotid glands. That is salivary gland. Salivary gland is an example for the salivary gland, that is a parotid gland. So remember that we discussed there is a tubarial gland, that is the fourth gland, fourth pair of gland. Sublinguals, submaxillary, parotids, and fourth one that is tubarial that discussed a few years back, 2 3 years back. Now the next one, pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So pseudostratified means first of all column-like cells. Pseudostratified means having some false layers. Occurs in large ducts of certain glands, mostly present in duct region. For example, parotid, salivary gland, and urethra of the human being, and also present on the olfactory mucosa. Okay, olfactory related to smell. So olfactory mucosa also is present. Now pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium. Previous one is columnar, now it's ciliated. So first of all, column-like cells, column-like cells. So long cells are in cilia and shorter cells in which cilia are absent. That's about the next region. Now present in the trachea and also in the last bronchus. Also present inside the trachea and also in the last bronchus. Now the movement of cilia propel the mucus and foreign particles towards the larynx. So cilia that propels the mucus and foreign particles towards the larynx. That's about the simple epithelium. So your features regarding the simple epithelium is over. So now let's come to the second type of epithelium, that is compound epithelium. So compound means that is multi-layered in nature. Okay. So what are the points we are underlining that you have to keep in mind? Because that key points only I'm just underlining. Okay, from that point, we can able to develop the sentences by your own. So compound epithelium that is multi-layered in nature consists of more than more than one layer of cells. So more than one layer of cells, that is multi-layer, isn't it? So more than one layer of cells present inside the compound epithelium. So they have a little role in the case of secretion or absorption. It doesn't have that kind of role like the previous one. They have a little role in the secretion or the absorption. Now they protect the underlying tissues against the mechanical, chemical, thermal, and osmotic stresses. So they protect the tissues from mechanical stress or from the external shocks and also the chemical shocks, isn't it? Chemical changes and also thermal changes. It is the temperature and osmotic stresses about the pressure. It may be stratified or transitional. Stratified means having more than one layers, or else it may be transitional without the further layers. Now the first one, stratified types of epithelium. So stratified means having many layers of epithelial cells. So having many layers, that is called stratified epithelium. So the deepest layer in the form of cuboidal cells. Deepest means inner layer. In the stratified epithelium, several layers are there. So the inner layer will be cuboidal cells. So morphology of this layers varies in different kinds of stratified epithelium. That's other point not required that much. So now the stratified epithelium can be classified into the first one, stratified squamous epithelium. So squamous means flattened cells, and stratified means several layers. So cells in the basal layer means in the deepest layer, inner layer or the basal layer are columnar or cuboidal. So the inner layers are mostly having column-like cells or the cuboidal cells. And in those cells, oval-shaped nucleus are also present inside. And this layer is known as germinative layer or the stratum germinativum or the stratum malpighi. So these are having different names. So the basal layer, the stratified squamous epithelium, the deepest layer or the basal layer or the inner layer, they're having columnar or the cuboidal cells with the oval-shaped nucleus. So hence we can call it as germinative layer or the stratum germinativum or the stratum malpighi. That's a different name for representing this inner layer. Now they produce new cells by mitosis. Mitosis means the chromosome number is almost equal. That's a condition. Now new cells gradually shifted outward. So new cells moving from outward to outside region. Now that point is not important. Now the middle layer means becomes polyhedral more than having polyhedral shape, tetrahedral like that one, isn't it? So more than having four sides. So polyhedral shape with the rounded nucleus and it's known as intermediate layer. So the first layer is inner layer, germinative layer, stratum germinativum or the stratum malpighi. Now the second layer, that is the middle layer or the intermediate layer. Now the last layer, that superficial layers are there that are transversely elongated nucleus, that is called squamous layers. So the outer layer, they are mostly known as squamous layers, means they are having flattened cells. So we can call it as squamous layer. Now the next one, that is keratinase stratified squamous epithelium. So keratin one substance is there. So here the cells replace their cytoplasm with a hard waterproof protein keratin. So cytoplasm is replaced by the substance called keratin. So those process is called keratinization. Cytoplasm is replaced by the waterproof substance that's called keratin, and the replacing process or the deposition of the keratin inside the cell, that is called keratinization. So for the seventh chapter, all the points are important for your exam because as you know, some portions are only there from this chapter. Half of the portions are deleted from last several years. So that this few points are only there that you have to know. Now the layers of the dead cells are known as stratum corneum or the horny layer. So outer layer having the dead cells are there. So dead cells are known as stratum corneum or the so that's known as the stratum corneum or the horny layer. Now the next one, the deepest layers. So deepest layers having polygonal cells or the inner layers. Okay, so outer layer is almost dead and the inner layers having some polygonal cells. They are living cells. And keratin is impermeable to water. So here keratin is present. So keratin doesn't have the ability to conduct the water. So it also resistant to mechanical abrasion or the scrapping, means decaying of the layer. So keratin is impermeable to water. It also resistant to the mechanical abrasion or the scrapping. So horny layer. So horny layer is outer layer. There is a dead cells that sheds at intervals due to friction. So epidermis skin of the land vertebrates. For example, in the case of snakes, isn't it? So these kind of organisms shed their skin's outer region. So those skin casting is takes place after the regular intervals of time. So it present in most of the land vertebrates. The organisms having vertebral column. Non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. That's the next type. So non-keratinized. So keratin is absent. So keratin is not there, so unable to check the water loss. So if keratin is there, they can able to prevent the water loss, but here it's unable to prevent the water loss. Now provides only moderate protection against the scraping or the abrasion. They provides keratin is absence, but they provides moderate protection against the scrap. Now the examples. So examples, that is it present the oral cavity, tongue, pharynx, esophagus, middle part of anal canal, lower parts of urethra, in vocal cords, vagina, cervix, lower parts of uterus, conjunctiva, that's in the eye, inside of the eyelids, and cornea of the eye. So in these regions, this now keratinous epithelium is present. Now the stratified cuboidal epithelium, that is stratified means several layers are there. Cuboidal having the cube-like cells. So it having the outer layer of cuboidal cells. On the outside, it appears like the cuboidal cells and the basal region of columnar cells. So outer layer is cuboidal and the basal layers are columnar. So it forms the epidermis of fishes and many urodels, that is tailed amphibians. So it present in the epidermis or the outer surface of fishes and also in many urodels, means many organisms that having tails. It also lines the sweat gland ducts. It also lines the sweat gland ducts and salivary glands, salivary ducts as well as the pancreatic ducts. So in these regions, it's present, isn't it? So once again, let's check this. That is about the stratified cuboidal epithelium. So and stratified cuboidal epithelium present in the sweat glands and the salivary glands and the pancreatic ducts. Now the next one, stratified columnar epithelium. So it has columnar cells or the column-like cells, both superficial and basal layers. Superficial means upper layers and also having the basal layers. So it present on the epiglottis, mammary gland ducts, and the parts of urethra. So in these regions is present. While learning also, I need to focus all the points. Means you have to in each and every point, then you can able to mark like this one. Means you have to mark the necessary points and that you have to keep in mind and develop sentences by your own. Now the stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. So stratified, several layers, isn't it? So layers are there, ciliated, cilia present, columnar, column line. So it is the outer layer consists of ciliated columnar cells and the basal layer, that is columnar cells only. So in the outer layers having outer and inner layers having columnar cells, but outer layer having cilias. Inner layer doesn't have a cilias. That is the only difference. Now it lines the larynx and upper part of the soft palate. Soft palate means that is the roof of the mouth is called soft palate. It is already present on the roof of the mouth. Now the next one, transitional epithelium. So they are much thinner and more stretchable. Transitional epithelium is much thinner and more stretchable than the stratified epithelium. So single layer of cuboidal cells are present. Single layer of cuboidal cells are present at the basal region. Now 2 to 3 middle layers of large polygonal cells. 2 to 3 middle layers of large cells are there. Polygonal cells or the pear-shaped cells are there. And superficial layer of large, broad, rectangular or oval cells. So once again, this focus the upper points. That is thinner and more stretchable in nature, and single layer of cuboidal cells at the basal region. Basal region is a basal layer having cuboidal cells, and the middle layer, around 2 to 3 middle layers are there. They're having large polygonal or the pear-shaped cells, and the superficial layer of the large, broad, rectangular or the oval oval sheet cells. Now this lines the inner surface of the urinary bladder and uterus. So it is present in the urinary bladder and also the uterus. It allows the expansion of organs, to accommodate urine. The temporary storage of urine at that time, it leads to the expansion of that particular organ for accommodating the urine. Now, important points on that I think we discussed. Okay, so there is neuroepithelial cells of epithelial organ. So they are the specialized sensory function. They have specialized sensory function. For example, taste buds. Taste buds are there. The example for the neuroepithelial cells. Now the myoepithelial cells, they are branch cells, myo, that is contain muscles and proteins. So two types of muscle proteins are there, myosins and actins. So remember that point. In myoepithelial cell, that is contains muscle proteins, that is myosin and actin. So myosin and actin that helps in the contraction of muscles of the sweat glands and mammary glands and salivary glands. So in all these glands, this type of specialized cells are present, and these cells are not included in any other epithelial cells. This point you have to keep in mind. Now the glandular epithelium, the next type of epithelium, that is called glandular epithelium. So cells of the glandular epithelia are generally columnar or cuboidal, isn't it? So they're having columnar or cuboidal or column-like or cuboidal cells. So having two types of cells, sometimes it will be unicellular. So consisting of glandular cells. Example, goblet cells of the alimentary canal, maybe unicellular, or maybe multicellular, that consisting of cluster of cells. A group of cells are present inside the glandular epithelium, that is multicellular condition. Now, some of the epithelial cells are specialized for secretion, that is called glands. Some of the epithelial cells have the ability to secrete some hormones or the chemicals, so that is called glands. So glands we can again classify into several types. First of all, based on secretion, exocrine, endocrine, heterocrine. And so exocrine means those glands having ducts. Those glands having ducts, that is called exocrine glands. And if it is endocrine gland, they are ductless glands. Means they doesn't have any proper ducts for carrying the molecules from for carrying the hormones from one region to another. Heterocrine means both functions also. Now the neurocrine, apocrine, and holocrine we can discuss. And simple glands, there is simple tubular alveolar, coiled tubular, then branched alveolar, and branched tubular. Now compound glands, that is compound saccular and compound tubular alveoli. So just recollect the points inside the chart, and remaining things we can discuss in the upcoming pages. So based on the site of secretion, we can classify it into several types. So according to the site and where secretion is released, so three types are there: exocrine, endocrine, heterocrine. So three types of glands are also there. So one by one, the first one, that is about the exocrine glands. So inside exocrine glands, the glands pour secretions on the epithelial surface. They pour secretions on the epithelial surface or the outer surface directly, either directly or through ducts. Sometimes with the help of ducts or else through the directly. Hence, we can call it as exocrine glands. So, example, salivary glands are there, gastric glands, intestinal glands, tear glands, sweat glands, oil glands, mammary glands. So these are the different types of glands that present on the exocrine glands. It may be unicellular or multicellular. Maybe unicellular or the multicellular. When unicellular glands secrete mucus, they call mucus cells. Isn't it? So some glands are there, they can secrete mucus, and those cells are called mucus cells or the goblet cells or else mucocytes. So these are the different names for the cells that can able to produce the mucus. Now the endocrine glands, they're called ductless glands, means they lack ducts, and their secretions are called hormones. and they pour directly into blood and lymph. The secretions they pour the enzymes into directly into blood and the lymph. So blood and lymph that carry hormones to target organs. So they are releasing their secretions directly to the ducts, okay, directly to the ducts, so that they can able to transfer the hormones to the target organs to the blood and lymph. For example, several types of endocrine glands are there: thyroid, parathyroid, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, thymus. So like this, several types of glands are also there. Now the next one, heterocrine glands. So heterocrine glands having both endocrine and the exocrine glands, exocrine parts. So exocrine example that is, for example, that is pancreas and gonads are the examples for the heterocrine glands. Now the glands based on the mode of secretion. So based on mode of releasing secretion, neurocrine is there, apocrine is there, holocrine is there. So neurocrine glands, the secretion that discharged by cells through simple diffusion. So they discharge their secretion by simple diffusion. There is no loss of cells or their parts. The parts of the cells or the cells completely, it doesn't have any loss. For example, goblet cells, sweat glands, and salivary glands, intestinal glands. So these secretions or these glands are the example for the neurocrine glands. Now coming to the apocrine glands, these secretory products accumulate in the apical part of the cell. The secretory products accumulate on the apical part of the cell. So later the upper part breaks off from the cell, and discharge the secretion. So the upper part break off from the cell and discharge as the secretion. So that is mammary glands and sweat glands are the example for the apocrine glands. Now the next one, that is holocrine glands. Holocrine glands means entirely filled with secretory products, disintegrates and discharged as a part of secretion. So first of all, that is the complete cell is filled with the secretory products and the disintegrates. Later they separated and discharged completely as a part of the secretion. If it is the first one, holocrine, there is no loss of the, sorry, not holocrine, neurocrine glands, isn't it? So neurocrine, that is, there is no loss of the parts about the neurocrine. In apocrine, the secretions are accumulated on the upper surface and that part is only releasing. But in the holocrine glands, the cell is completely filled with the secretions and releases completely. That's a holocrine. For example, sebaceous glands are there. Now, sometimes holocrine glands are there that secretes holocrine glands are there that secretes hormones only. For example, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, pituitary, and hypothalamus. So these are the examples for the holocrine glands. Hope you understood this concept. So now we can move to the next session. Now types of glands or the simple glands. So simple glands means a gland with single unbranched duct. So the gland having a single duct, that is called simple gland. The secretory part of the gland consists of epithelial cells arranged in the form of tubes or sacs or a combination of both. So the secretory part of this gland that consists of epithelial cells that arranged in the form of tubes or tubules or else sacs or else alveoli or acne or the combination of both. So that is about the types of glands. Now simple tubular glands are there. Simple tubular glands are there present in intestine and also crypts of Lieberkühn. There's a cells that is called crypts of Lieberkühn that's present inside the intestine. That's simple tubular glands. Simple alveolar, that is terminal part from alveolus. So mucus gland in the skin of frog, poisonous gland in the toes are the examples for the simple alveolar glands. Now simple coiled tubular. It is a terminal simple and coiled and tubular. So tube-like coiled in the upper sides. That is sweat glands are the example for the simple coiled and tubular. Now branched tubular. So about the gastric glands in the stomach, they're having certain branches and tubular. Now branched alveolar, that is sebaceous glands that produces sebum, the waxy coating on our body, that is sebum. produced by the sebaceous glands is an example for the branched alveoli. Now coming to the type of compound gland, a gland with branch system of ducts is called compound gland. So a gland with branch system of ducts that is called the compound gland. So here secretory tubule of the acinus means of the sac-like structures may be coiled or branched and opens into small duct of the gland. That's about the feature. Now compound glands that present inside the pancreas and submandibular and salivary glands. So compound glands are present inside the pancreas at first and also it present inside the submandibular salivary glands. So again this glands we can classify into several types. First of all, compound saccular glands, simple glands and compound glands. So compound saccular glands, so they are sac-like glands. Example, salivary glands. So example for the salivary, that is submaxillary and sublinguals. Example for the compound saccular glands. Now compound tubular alveolar. So they are tubular structures as well as alveolar, isn't it? So alveolar is A. O is also there. Okay. So that's alveolar and found in the mammary glands of the pancreas, parotid, Cowper's gland, bulbourethral, Purkin's gland. So in this type of gland, this compound tubular alveolar is present. Now just come to the flow chart. One flow chart will be there. The flow chart will be there. Just see this flow charts. About the connective tissue, first of all, loose connective tissues are there. Dense connective, specialized connective tissue. Loose connective tissue, areolar tissues and adipose tissues. Dense connective, dense regular and dense irregular. So dense regular means again we can classify into white fibrous connective tissue, yellow elastic connective tissue. White fibrous cord and sheath, the cord is tendon and the cord. Here also yellow elastic, cord and tendon, that is ligament and the sheath. Now dense irregular connective tissue. Now to the third one, specialized connective tissue, skeletal, vascular, reticular, pigmented, mucoid. Skeletal, cartilage and bones are there. Cartilage, hyaline cartilage, fibrous cartilage and calcified cartilage. Bones, that is compact and spongy. Then vascular, that is blood and lymph that helps to carry the particles from one region to another. Now coming to the next one, that is about the connective tissues on day one. So these connective tissues are most abundant, 40% is the total tissue. So our 40% of the total tissue is covered with these connective tissues. And distributed in the body of complex animals, mostly present on the complex animals, this connective tissue. It helps to link and support other tissues. So it helps to support and also it helps to link the other tissues too. Now the next one includes soft connective tissues to specialized tissues such as cartilage, adipose, bones, and blood. So these are the soft connective tissues to the special tissues are also there. Now the cells secrete fibers of structural proteins. So cells secrete some proteins, secrete fibers of protein that is called collagen fibers or the elastin fibers. Now the extracellular materials consist of proteins and fibers scattered in the amorphous transparent foundation of the ground substance, which may be fluid, gel-like or solid. So in a similar way, extracellular material made up of protein fibers and it is scattered and which may be fluid, jelly-like or solid in nature. That's enough. Okay. Now fibers, about the fibers, they provide strength, elasticity, flexibility. Fibers, that is provide the strength and flexibility and also elasticity. Now cells secrete polysaccharides. Cells secrete polysaccharides and accumulate between cells and fibers and act as matrix. So that's we are repeating the same term several times. Matrix means the inner cell, the adjacent cells or the layer of cells that based on a pavement membrane that is called ground substance of the matrix. Now it permits the diffusion of food materials. It permits the diffusion of food materials and also water, gases, and waste to from the cells. Now connective tissues again classified into three types: loose connective, dense connective, and specialized connective. The first one, loose connective. So it contains large amount of semi-fluid ground substance. So if it is loose connective tissue, it contains a semi-fluid ground substance will be there, and with plenty of cells and loosely arranged fibers. So a lot of cells will be there, and also loosely arranged fibers will be there in that condition. Now areolar tissue. So it below the seen below the epithelial tissue, the tissue that's seen below the epithelial tissue, that is areolar tissue, and having many visceral organs or many visceral hollow organs, skin and wall of arteries and veins. So mostly present on the visceral organs, skin, and the walls of arteries and the veins. It contains different type of cells. And areolar tissue having different types of cells contains protective phagocytic cells. It contains protective phagocytic cells and permits considerable stretching and recovery of tissues. So it helps in considering stretching and recovery of the tissues. Now the fibroblasts, these are the principal cells of this tissue, or the major cells of the tissue that is called fibroblast. They are irregularly shaped flat cells and having protoplasmic extensions and also oval nucleus. Protoplasmic process means protoplasmic extensions. They secretes matrix. They secretes matrix and the material of which the fibers are formed. So they produces the matrix and material of which the fibers are formed. So their inactive fibroblasts are known as fibrocyst. So inactive fibroblast is there. That's called fibrocyst. Now fibroblast produces two kind of proteins, that is collagen and elastin. Fibroblast produces two kinds of proteins, that is collagen and elastin. They secrete the major amount of matrix. So macrophages, histocytes, phagocytic in nature, means bone cells are mostly phagocytic in nature. Mast cells are the mastocytes. They are irregularly ovoid cells and containing basophilic granules. That's about the feature. Now the next one, granules contains histamine. So they have some basophilic granules, and these granules contain histamines, that is inflammatory substance that produced during the allergic reaction. So it produces during the allergic reaction during the inflammatory time. For example, heparin, it is a natural anticoagulant. Serotonin, there is a vasoconstrictor that helps in the release of urine. Now, plasma cells of the cardiac cells are also present that they synthesis antibodies, helps in the production of the antibodies, and it joins the different tissues and forms the packing between them, means how to held them close together. Okay. And also it provides to maintain a proper shape of the organs. Now the next one about the adipose tissue. So in the case of adipose tissue, that is they are the connective tissues that present beneath the skin or below the skin and seen mostly around the kidneys and bone marrows. Present over the kidneys and bone marrows. So they contains large spherical oval shapes called fat cells or adipose cells. So adipose means it is below the skin and it major function that helps to store the fat. So it helps in storage, synthesis, and metabolism of fat. That's the major function. It helps in the storage and also production and also its action, isn't it? Or the metabolism of the fat. Now, adipose tissue is arranged in lobules encased in areolar tissue. That's the condition. Now, with the functions, it prevents heat loss by forming heat insulating layer. So this fat forms a outer layer that is called heat layer. So this heat layer or heat insulating layer that prevents the heat loss from the body of the organisms. Now forming shock absorbing cushions. Shock absorbing cushions are also present in the kidneys of eyeballs. Now the next one about the different types of tissues, white tissues and brown tissues. So this adipose cells contains fats and cytoplasm. Adipose cells contain the fats and cytoplasm. Two kind of fatty tissues are there. Adipose tissue, single large fat surrounded by a small amount of cytoplasm.